Hey guys, how you doing? Hope you've had a good afternoon so far. Well, I'll start off by introducing myself. My name is Dhruv Mehta, and I very much define myself as a CEO and co-founder of Aument. Sad but true. We are working on using artificial intelligence in order to scour through electronic health records and find patients that are most susceptible to cancer, and doing it at an early enough stage so that we're able to move forward and they have the longest, healthiest possible lives. But that's not why I'm here today. I came because I wanted to talk to you all about starting a business using artificial intelligence as a potential tool and doing this in such a way so that you don't have the fear that I initially had when I started. And for me, all of this starts with a quote by the greatest basketball player that ever lived during his Hall of Fame induction speech. Michael Jordan said, "Limits, like fears, are often just an illusion." Why did this resonate with me so much? Well, it's because every day of our lives we're told, yeah, you can do this, but you're not going to get there. You can work as hard as you want on your business, but you'll never be the CEO of a company like Apple. Do you really think that 20-year-old Steve Jobs, as confident as he may have been, ever thought to himself, I'm going to change the way the world sees technology in a few years? I highly doubt it. But one thing he did have was an unbelievable belief in his vision. He had an unbelievable belief in his passion for computers and an understanding of what makes him special, which wasn't the coding because he never wrote a line of code in his life. This is the kind of path that I wanted to follow. And as you can see with the black turtleneck, I'm sticking to it. I went to Madrid in early 2017. And it was a time that was quite special for me. But as anyone that knows me very closely will tell you, I'm one of the most obsessive people you will ever meet in your life. And at that point, I started to get obsessed with starting a business. Why? Because I wanted to make my imprint on the world. Something that shows how I think, the things that I really, truly believe in, that I don't have to ask for anyone. And so, while I was walking around the museums, going to the coffee shops, and eating my tapas, every day I was writing. I was writing down big, broad ideas, stuff that interested me, with a little description underneath. And then, at night, I would go home, lay in my bed, and expand on them. And I did this for a year. And within a year, in my book, I had roughly 150 ideas. Not all of them great, but all of them kind of interesting. And they were ranging from education to health to legal, fintech, energy, clean tech, everything you could possibly think of. Until finally I came across this one idea. This one special idea that ended up turning into Aument. Funny thing though, every other idea was also a tech idea, and I had no background in tech, so I had no idea what I was going to do. But it was a little workout. One way or another, we'll figure it out. Luckily for me, my best friend at the time, Javi, shout out, was a doctor who had started a business in medtech a couple of years prior. So we got together, took this big, broad idea I had, and tailored it down. But again, this is not what I want to talk about, so I'm going to go back. If you have any questions about how to go about this or the resources that I use, contact me and find me in d.meta@aument.eu anytime. But going back to what I was saying, I was really lucky because I had a best friend who'd already done this. But what does that really mean, luck? I thought back, and as I was introspecting, I realized that literally most of my friends that I have are all just like me. They all want to create their own businesses. They're all entrepreneurial. They all want to do something great, achieve something with their life. So what was the difference? And that was the key. That exact thing right there, that everyone around me was going to push me as I was going to push them. The people you surround yourself with, no matter what you're doing in life, if it's with the arts, if it's with business, if it's with music, are going to be the ones pushing you forward. And the people that don't are going to hold you back. So find the people, find the right people. And if you end up wanting to run a venture and they're right in the field, then double whammy, good luck, fantastic. In situations where you don't have people around you of that same context and you're trying to start a business, find the industry that you want to work in. For me, it was medtech. I attended tons of conferences, talks, seminars, entrepreneurial events where people were holding speeches, pitches, networking, incubators, and found people that were just like me, that wanted to do the same thing that I wanted to do, almost validating my own interests. Move forward from there. One thing I didn't realize throughout this whole process, though, was how freaking hard this whole process was going to be, especially being someone who had absolutely no background in tech. I was really happy to come up with the ideas and set up the team and do all of the stuff that needed to be done until someone would ask me, Dhruv, how's this going to work? And all of a sudden, I would have some fear in my heart. Okay, cool. I mean, I can tell you what it's going to be, but not the tech underneath. It's proprietary, which it wasn't because I still had no idea what I was doing. So this is the fear that I feel that most people have during this time. And what did I do? I read, like everyone does. I went and did as much research as I possibly could until I realized that it was not going to be enough for the level of work that I was doing. So I undertook a master's degree, which I'm almost finished with now. And this whole concept of AI and machine learning and everything freaked me out before, that when I look back now, I think it's not that bad. So if any of you are afraid of this whole concept, I'm here to put it at ease, because it's not that complicated in its essence. When we talk about general AI, we talk about things that humans are building so that we can use things that are just like humans, but smarter and have ability to do a few more things. But until we get to that point, the building blocks of what constructs AI is actually very simplistic. And if you give me 3 minutes, I will be able to put it all into context very simply. So the first thing that we do to construct an artificially intelligent model is to teach the machines how to learn, hence machine learning. And this you can think of as the same concept as you would say the same way that humans learn, deterministically. You see things that happen in the past and that informs your decisions for the future, which is what machine learning is. If you look at the first concept that I'm going to be talking about, which is supervised machine learning, you can imagine it as being a baby. When you have a mother or a father that has a child that has never eaten with a spoon in their life, they hand the child a spoon and slowly pick up the hand and feed their mouths. If they do it 1 time, the kid will eat. They do it 100 times, the child will learn. And the 101st time that the child tries to eat, might be able to do it themselves. Now, if you do this thing 40,000 times, I'm sure the child will have a very good ability to be eating the first time already with the spoon properly. This is what we do with machine learning, supervised. You provide them with inputs, which are called features, and you give them the outcome, and through that, you get through enough processes, and the machine is able to perform these actions by itself. And this is extremely useful when you think of concepts as forecasting. So one of the things that I found very interesting was in solar panels, the way that they maintain and operate solar panels, because they have sensors and they function at an efficiency at any given point that is its max efficiency or lower, given the conditions and the weather and the sun and everything put together. But when they have to figure out why 1 in 1,000 solar panels in a field is not working, what do? They collect data from the sensors that show them that the top side is not working, so you can understand, and the computer will be able to tell that it's a shadow or there's dust, and that informs them. Supervised machine learning. Unsupervised machine learning, on the other hand, is like putting a table down, sitting a kid on it, putting ice cream and chocolate, and cauliflower and broccoli, and telling them to see if they can find any similarities. Eventually, when they taste all of those things, even if it's not just by the look of it, they'll be able to tell that one thing is better than the other. And we know which ones those are. So That's what's a concept in unsupervised machine learning called clustering, where the machine is able to detect various different features that are similar in different categories and puts it together. Now, the next concept we go into starts to get a little bit more complex. So I don't know if you guys have heard about computer vision. It's the way that using neural networks, a computer is able to understand and use images and parse them and understand what's going on to a certain degree. So when I first, in my life, saw someone make a happy face or a sad face, I understood absolutely nothing from it. But you see it over and over again, and you start realizing the connotations of the muscles going up and lifting your face or putting it down results in behavior changes, everything different. And you're learning this just by your sight. This is the same concept that computers use, except in neural networks, you have various layers, and each layer detects a different pattern, which is then able to understand what an image might be communicating. And something like this could be extremely useful when you think of recycling. When you think of people separating plastics, the machine is able to detect the type of bottles that are going in so that it can take it out and ask you to change them. Next concept is NLP, good old NLP, natural language processing. You can think of it as basically the machine's dictionary, the same way that we would go and refer to words and then find a definition behind them is the same way that machines also don't understand exactly what everything means, and we have to define it. The use for this is immense because we could be taking large texts and summarizing them if the machine understands what we're saying. And this could be really useful in every educational sphere, especially for people like me that use Spark Notes almost all the time. It finally ends with reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning, for me, is one of the most interesting concepts. And this, again, I'll use the example of a child. When they first touch a hot plate, it hurts. That's a negative reinforcement. They won't do that again unless they do. But it's unlikely that they do it again. And it's the same thing with the machine. If they find negative reinforcement because we're defining boundaries, they won't go that route again. They will go towards the positive. And this is what encapsulates what is going to take us forward into developing this big AI system, whereas all of this can be classified and used. But I'm not telling you this just to inform you about the very basics of AI, because I'm glad if none of you have heard this stuff, but probably you have. I just want you to think about what you can do, because that's what I wanted. I didn't just think about starting a tech company because I thought it was going to be really interesting or I was really passionate about it. I was. But the main thing was that the future is nothing but tech. Med tech in 15 years is going to be medicine. Legal tech is going to be just legal. So we need to make sure that as a generation, we are aware of where we're investing our efforts. We're aware of what we can do in order to really define our own future. And today's youth, you guys, people around the world, anyone that might be watching, it is our job to make sure we harness every single possible resource that we can. Every resource from everywhere in the world. The poorest country in the world, literally the poorest country in the world, still has access to the internet, which means they have access to YouTube videos, which means they have access to journal articles, Google Scholar. You can do it. You can do anything that you set your mind to. The only luxury that we have is time. And in order to maximize your time, you need to further educate yourself. This, for me, was the key to starting a business. The first thing was to believe and commit to your idea. The second thing was to find the right people and surround yourself with the right people. The third thing was to grow myself so that I could grow my business. The fourth thing was to educate myself in every way possible, regardless of how long it took or where I was. And finally, the fifth and final thing, to quote the great poet Kendrick Lamar, be humble. Because humility is the number one thing that is going to get you forward. People take you under their wing, they teach you, they will take you to meetings, They will give you advice on absolutely anything that you want, as long as you're willing to listen and you respect their opinion. So if I leave you with nothing else today, I hope that you guys have an incredible time. Move forward, use technology, and don't let it use you. Thank you very much. That was kind. Thank you.